The safe and efficient transportation of Forestry Commission fire management personnel and equipment are vital to the fire suppression efforts in South Carolina. Units that are properly maintained ensure safe and dependable operation. I'm going to discuss several preventive maintenance tasks as well as operational tips that will assist you in maintaining the unit's appearance, performance, and dependability. The fire suppression unit consists of the crawler tractor and plow and the transport unit on which it is carried. Both play a vital role. We'll first take a look at the tractor. Preventive maintenance starts with a quick walk around. You need to check for all loose hardware such as guards, loose track pads, missing bolts, track tension, protective caging, lights in the cab, attachments such as the plow. Check for any leaks at the hoses, cylinders, any loose disc blades, or any other mounting hardware. In addition, you should also check your safety equipment, which includes fire shelter, fire extinguisher, fire curtains, and your first aid kit. Other equipment you should also have would include a bog chain, drip torch, wire cutting pliers, shovel, fire rake, axe, and a grease gun. The equipment should be exercised weekly. Forestry Commission fire suppression units have different features and options. You need to know the features of your particular unit. As with all automotive equipment, preventive maintenance begins with the basic engine. Oil is the lifeblood of the engine. Always maintain an adequate supply of oil. The oil level should always be up to the full mark, and you should always notice the color of it. Oil from a diesel engine will normally be black. Any discoloration, such as a milky looking color, should be reported at once to your shops. Check the oil each time before starting the engine. Oil level on the older model 450C should be checked through the side cover. The cooling system should always be checked each time before starting. We have two basic systems, the recovery system and the non-recovery system. On the recovery system models, always check the fluid level at the plastic tank. On a non-recovery system, you should check it at the radiator, remembering never to open the system while hot. The correct level on a non-recovery system should be about 1 inch below the neck. Filling these units up to the top will only result in kicking out excess water. The mixture should always be 50-50 water and antifreeze mix. These should be tested each year before fire season with the antifreeze tester. Always check the radiator for debris buildup in front and behind. Low coolant level, loose belts, and debris buildup are the most common overheating problems for the tractors. Diesel engines require large amounts of clean air. First off, you have an air restrictor check valve located in the engine compartment. This can be checked to tell you the condition of the air system. If there's a red line in it, services are called for on the air system. Next, we have the pre-cleaner. This should be frequently checked, taken off, and any dust and contaminants removed from the bowl. Next, you have your inner and outer air filters. During dry, dusty conditions, air filter may need to be serviced more regularly. If you have air available, you want to take air from the inside and blow out with no more than 30 psi of pressure. If no air is available, the air filter can be bumped against the palm of the hand to release any dirt and contaminants from the filter. Never beat the filter on anything such as a track or any hard object which could warp the frame. This could cause an air leak which could damage the engine. Fuel systems on a diesel engine need to have clean fuel, free of contaminants and water. Keep the tank filled to prevent moisture buildup and to assure that you have enough fuel for the day. Check lines for leaks. These could start fires on the tractor. Fuel system consists of a fuel shutoff valve, fuel lift pump, fuel filter, fuel injection pump, and your fuel injectors. Cold water should never be sprayed on the injection pump when it is hot. This could cause damage to the internal workings of the pump. Trash must be periodically drained from the tanks. To do this, you need to drain the valve at the bottom of the tanks. This is the location on the G tractors. 450C, it's at the back of the tractor, right below the tank. Crack the valve and let the fuel flow until all fuel coming out is clear. Use the proper type of fuel from a reputable source. If using fuel from a can or container other than from a station, always be sure that it's free of contaminants, water, and debris. The electrical systems are the nerves of the tractor. The battery is located under the seat on the 450Gs. Always be sure that your batteries are bolted securely, connections are tight and free of corrosion. The batteries need to be as clean as possible and occasionally need water added to the system. The alternator is a vital part of the electrical system. It supplies voltage to charge the batteries back up. Always check for loose connections, frayed wires, make sure it's securely mounted, check your belts for condition and tightness. Always inspect the wiring harness for any cuts or nicks. Check battery connections to the starter, make sure they're tight, free of debris. And never short across the starter solenoid with a screwdriver to crank the tractor. This is dangerous. The proper jump start procedure, always hook your positive cable first, your negative last, preferably not to the battery but to a good chassis ground. Try not to turn the starter motor for any more than 10 seconds and let cool each time before trying to restart. No start conditions are usually due to poor grounds, low battery voltage, or the alternator not charging. Always check your belts and hoses regularly. Check belts for tension and condition. Check all water hoses for security of clamps, any bulges or weak spots in the hoses. Loose belts can cause overheating and low alternator output. Loose clamps can cause the hose to leak water and cause the engine to run hot. Weak spots in hoses can eventually cause a blowout. drivetrain consists of the final drive, rear end, transmission, steering clutches, and clutch. You're responsible for checking the transmission fluid level and condition. On the 450Gs, transmission level is located in the side compartment. On the 450C, it's located under the seat. Always check for level and condition of the transmission oil. All other repairs and maintenance needs should be done by the regional shops. On the 450Cs, you want to maintain the correct free travel on the clutch pedal. Never ride the clutch, and do not use the clutch to hold the tractor on a hill. Do not scrape between changing gears. On hand steering, you need 11 inches of clearance. Pulling both levers back should stop the tractor. As on foot steering, depressing both pedals should also stop the tractor. Misadjusted steering levers and foot pedals can cause the tractor not to turn properly or to not stop. The undercarriage consists of the track chain, which is comprised of pins, bushings, the link, and the track pads. You also have your rear sprockets, front idler, your top and bottom rollers and their guards, and the track adjusting piston. You'll occasionally need to tighten or loosen your tracks to keep the correct slack. You always want to run the tracks a little looser in boggy conditions due to the packing. A too tight track can slow the tractor down and it puts excessive wear on the components. If they're too loose, obviously they can come off. Always use a straight edge to check the track tension. Place it across the longest section of track from the roller to the midpoint. As you can see, this one is extremely too tight. Track tension should be 1.5 to 2 inches. To loosen the track, remove the protective cover, loosen the bolt just enough to release pressure on the tracks. Tighten the track. Take your grease gun and pump to the desired height. Check the distance from the top of the grouser to the bottom of the level. Close protective cover. Reinstall the attaching bolt. Always try to keep the tracks as free of mud and debris as possible. The hydraulic system components are the hydraulic pump, the lines and hoses, hydraulic fluid, and the control valves. Check the oil level on the rear of the Gs through the sight glass. On the C models, it's on the side. The oil level is correct when it's halfway the sight glass. Adding oil, always use a clean container that has been sealed. Be sure it's free of dirt, water, and other contaminants. Next, you should check all hoses for any loose fittings, frayed hoses, or leaks. Being careful, as hydraulic fluid under pressure can easily enter the skin and cause serious health problems. You should always check for leaks and debris buildup around your control valve. Check all your hose connections for leaks. Try to keep it as clean as possible. Make sure all guards and hose protection are in place and securely mounted. Well-maintained attachments are critical to the performance of your unit. The first attachment we will discuss is the plow. Whether you have a lift plow or a pull plow, with the exception of the tires, the maintenance is basically the same. First, check your disc blades and your coda blades for tightness. Also check the middle buster. Be sure it is mounted securely, as is the spreader bars. Next, check the hydraulic cylinder and hoses and attachments. Be sure all is in good working order. Most importantly, keep it properly greased, at least once a month and weekly during heavy fire currents. Different plows are greased in different locations. The most important on the lift plow is up here at the front of the pull pin. Also at the middle buster and on each of the boxings on your disc blades. Pull plows are basically the same, except you need to be sure to check the condition of the tires and the wheel bearings. The second attachment is the winch. Most are mounted on the rear of the tractor. They're used to pull yourself out of a bog or to help pull someone else out when they become stuck. The first thing you want to check is the oil level. When oil runs from the side hole, it's at the correct level. If no oil comes from the hole, remove your plug and add oil until it just begins to run out of the hole. Next, you want to check the condition of your cable. Check it for frays or breaks. Check for tightness of cable clamps and cable hooks. Always after using your winch to remove yourself from a bog, be sure to pull it back out by hand and let it roll up under no pressure where it'll be ready for use the next time. The last attachment is the blade. Your unit may have either a straight, 6-way, or a V-blade. The items for these to be checked are the hydraulic cylinders, hydraulic hoses, the pivots and mounting points, and as always, be sure to keep it well greased. At each pivot point, it should be greased as a plow once a month and more often during heavy fire currents. Also check on the front cutting edge. Remember to always push with the blade and never try to pull or stomp backwards. We have covered the basic maintenance of the tractor. We will now go over proper starting. Always before starting, ensure that the tractor is in the neutral position and the park lever is down. First, want to engage your throttle. Turn your starter for no more than 10 seconds. In extreme cold situations, the starting aid button may be needed to apply starting fluid to the engine. On older Model Cs, this is done through the air intake in front of the cab. Only use ether or starting fluid when absolutely necessary. Once the engine is started, operate for 2 to 3 minutes. This will ensure proper warm-up of all components. Never race the engine when cold, and and always check your gauges. Be sure that the water, engine oil pressure, and fuel gauges are in the operating position. Before shutting down, always return the engine to idle. Let idle for 2 to 3 minutes. This ensures proper lubrication of all moving parts. Disengage the throttle, switch off the ignition. Always remember, a properly maintained tractor will ensure efficient performance and safety for you, the operator. We will now examine the transport which is responsible for getting you and your tractor to the fire location. Your transport, whether it be a tandem axle truck or a truck tractor with a low boy, must be kept in good operating condition to travel the highways. If you can't get to the fire, you can't put the fire out. As with the tractor, we will first look at the basic engine. First thing we want to check on the truck is the engine oil. Always check the level and condition of the oil. Black is a normal color for diesel engine oil. Next, check the power steering fluid. Always make sure it's at full level. On trucks equipped with automatic transmissions, they must be checked here with the engine running and in neutral. Next, we'll look at the belts and antifreeze. Always check your antifreeze and the recovery systems in the jug. Keep the level as close to max as possible. Also check any hoses, hose clamps, and make sure there are no leaks. Also be sure the belt tension and condition is good, and keep a check of your windshield washer fluid. Never open the air filter housing to check the air filter. Always use the restrictor valve on the dash of the truck. Never let the restrictor valve go into the red. Next, we'll cover the driveline assembly. The driveline consists of the drive shaft, universal joints, and assembly hangers. Be sure to keep all drive shaft components properly greased. On tires, you want to check the condition of the tread, air pressure, and secureness of the lug nuts. Always listen for air leaks around your brakes. Check for any loose hardware or mounting. Always let the air pressure build up before trying to release the air brakes. parking brake still on, place the transmission in gear, and be sure that the brakes will hold the transport. If it fails to do this, notify shop personnel immediately. Also, check for the clearance of the brake pedal and the firmness of the feel. Also at this time, check steering for any loose motion. Always check all steering components for tightness, security of mounting, missing hardware. Also ensure that it is maintained properly by lubricating all fittings. Always ensure that all lights and warning devices are properly operating. Always check headlamps for high and low beams. Ensure signal lights are properly operating. Check clearance lights across the cab and along the side of the bed. Make sure that the warning beacons are both operating properly. Be sure that all tail, brake, and signal lights are working properly on the rear of the transport. And never drop the ramps on the bed of the old transport, as this will knock out the bulbs. Always keep all transport beds free of dirt and debris, as this could be a hazard to other vehicles on the highway. Always inspect the boards. Any cracked, broken, or rotten board should be replaced immediately. Always be sure that all tools and equipment are in their secure place. Every transport should carry certain safety items: road triangle warning kit, fire extinguisher, accident report packet, first aid kit, radio, maps, fire retardant clothing, hard hat, hearing protection, goggles, swatter, and a credit card. The public judges the Forestry Commission by the appearance of our units. You should always keep your unit as clean as possible, inside and out. Do not allow trash or debris to accumulate in the cab. Always carry oil and grease in leak-proof containers. Always clean the entire unit, not just the cab. This includes the tires. Keep the unit free of mud and debris, and do not personalize with names or bumper stickers. While your suppression unit may be a different make and model, preventive maintenance principles are the same. Just locate the appropriate points on the particular unit and follow the instructions given. If you find a problem during your preventive maintenance check that you cannot easily correct, immediately notify your supervisor. We have discussed the preventive maintenance procedures Forestry Commission personnel are expected to follow. Remember, firefighting is an important and sometimes dangerous job. Your equipment must be ready at all times to perform at a high level. Someone's life or property may depend on it. The best way to ensure the equipment is ready is to follow the preventive maintenance procedures we have covered.